Hello. How are you, my friend
Good. Are
Jack?
you?
I'm really tired. It's been a long
Oh,
day.
that's what that is.
That's what that is.
Kind of
I
sound like you
am.
really high.
Hey, how are you, Lenore?
Lenore.
Um,
Well, that's all right
my
because I'm
name
on the
is.
verge of losing my voice. So,
Welcome to Down and Down. This is a rabbit hole podcast where we chase rabbit holes, and we discover what is at the end of those holes. And also,
mm,
My name's Buck, and I'm joined with my co-host. He's Jackalope,
yeah, Jack, Jack is fine.
Jack the Jackalope.
That's right. You can Jack
Forgive
the Jack. I
me.
mean, I'm Jack the Jackalope.
I'm a little. Nope. I am a little delirious right now. It's been a long day of work, but nonetheless, we are here to create content for everybody, our multitudes and
Yes,
multitudes of
so many
followers
people.
that
All
that
five
are,
of you.
but all five of you, yeah. But so I'm gonna kind of like change up the pace a little bit
Change it
today.
up.
We're gonna talk about something that's real. I don't know, maybe it's controversial, I don't know, but friendship, that's what we're talking about. Friendships, nobody should have friends.
I shouldn't
It's
have them.
no, Jack, you should not be my friend. I hate you.
Oh, what, did you think we were?
That hurts.
You
How
said
could
you
you
hate me.
how could you do that? How could you, what a terrible friend.
You
this is
said you.
this is why you shouldn't have friends.
I I hate you. When what I said, mate, that was
You hurt
horrible.
my feelings. Oh.
I can say what I want to, but you can't.
That sounds like most of the world right now.
Yeah.
Nah, but for real, we are going to talk about friendship, but a little bit more specifically, we're gonna we're gonna stir the pot a little bit with it. We're gonna talk about what our takes on being friends with the opposite sex are.
Because there's only
So,
two.
oh, that's a different that's a different
That's a
podcast.
different. That's a different hole.
Um, yep. I'm moving on. So let's jump into this rabbit hole.
Down and down the rabbit hole. Just how deep does it go? Where it stops, nobody knows. So let's go down the rabbit hole. Down and down the rabbit hole. Down and down the rabbit hole.
Okay, so can you be friends with somebody of the opposite sex? No, the end. Goodbye. End of podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
There's a little nuance to this.
Quite
I
quite a
think
bit of it.
specifically, I think we're meaning if you are married
Correct. Well, or
in a
involved.
in a
Yeah,
serious
in a
relationship.
relationship. So uh, I'll go ahead and just kind of share my like blanket statement. Can you be friends with somebody if you're a guy? Can you be friends with a girl? Absolutely. That's kind of a dumb question. But I don't think that's what we're talking about here. Like, I mean, is that generally your take too? I mean, I would imagine so because I mean, you're friends with Shelly, you're friends with Beverly.
Yeah,
I'm friends with Jill. So,
yeah.
I mean, we're not saying no, you can't be friends with somebody of the opposite sex. However, what are the limitations to that? So, Jack, what do you think the what kind of problems can arise from let's just for one, let's start out with single guys. Single guys being friends with somebody of the opposite sex, or single girls being friends with guys.
I
What?
think it's definitely possible. I mean, as a single guy, I had a lot of female friends, but I have found that one of the parties always seems to be interested in the other party.
Yeah.
And
Did that happen to you?
more times than I can count. And it was usually the other way around. That sounds Um,
There's usually you were the one being liked, you mean?
yeah.
You arrogant bastard.
I was going to say that sounds bad, but that was the truth. But I think you know that too.
No, I
Oh,
mean for all of our listeners, Jack has an extremely flirtatious personality.
yeah.
He's an ENTP, which is a very magnetic type extrovert personality, and he flirts with
Very,
everybody. He,
yeah,
he
we're very
flirts with
charismatic.
yeah, and
Not intentionally. It's just
no, well
it will be
sometimes intentionally.
well when I want it. Yeah, but there is a level of um people would perceive me as being as flirting even when I wasn't
Yeah,
meaning to.
yeah, and a lot of times Jack ended up being friends with girls because I think one of the reasons you told me was because like most of the guys you knew were kind of douchebags or
Yeah, a lot of them were
treat
getting in
or
trouble, and I
yeah
was not into that. I didn't want to be in trouble. I kind of minded my p's and q's, and I got good grades and stuff. I was a goody goody, but I didn't want to be in the circles with a lot of the other guys that I knew. There was a few that were good as well, and I was friends with them, but they were either super weird or they were in that kind of camp,
yeah
and so I ended up being friends more with a lot of the girls.
right. And I like being Jack's best friend throughout the majority of this time. I got to experience quite a lot where these girls that I could tell he had no interest in whatsoever. I knew he wasn't attracted to them or anything like that. He just had been put in a situation where he was able to get close to these people, and there definitely was some crushing going on from a lot of these girls.
Yeah.
Especially being Jack was a pastor's kid, and at one point in his high school career, he moved to a different church, and he was kind of
Mm.
the new kid at the church, and pretty much every single girl at that church started hovering over him, and he it was just natural to become friends with some of those people, being the pastor's son. And I got to see that. He actually ended up dating one. It started out as a friendship, and then
That grew.
yeah, I think there have been. I mean, I definitely have been in friendships with girls when I was single that I was interested in that girl,
Yeah.
100%. Um, I in those scenarios, it only happened to me once or twice. In those scenarios, I would much rather have no like have just stayed friends than act on any sort of feelings that I had for those girls
Yeah.
because I just didn't see it working. I didn't feel like it was reciprocated, and I wasn't going to even try to worry about it. So I don't even think I think I only told one girl in all that I was like interested in her, and she was kind of crazy, and she would reciprocate it and then rescind it and reciprocate it and rescind it, but she
Mm.
never was like, yes, let's date, because I never actually asked her out. But she enjoyed flirting quite a lot, and I know she like talked about it behind like my back to other people, like should I entertain this, just because it wasn't a good situation. It was one of the girls we worked at Hollister with.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
not the one
Not
that we
Hazel.
both were really. No, it was Hazel.
It was okay.
Yeah, it wasn't the one that we were really good friends with that I had a crush
Oh
on.
yeah, no. I thought well when you started saying not, I thought it was going to be Hazel because I thought it was Hazel. Um,
That's what I
but
called her because she had hazel eyes. By the way,
they wrote a song about her.
I did. It's actually a pretty good
But
song from what I remember.
but and the thing in just kind of even clarifying this, I think a little more is because he was talking about my personality. I think you have seen it where even un like I sound really bad saying this about myself, and I don't mean that, but so like we would go places and waitresses would have like relationships or not relationships would have like a crush on me, and I didn't realize it. Like we used to go to a specific restaurant a lot, and there was one that had a crush on me until I brought Jill to that restaurant with me, and that waitress had been our waitress, and then she just kind of acted funny and didn't really act like she wanted to wait on us. And I realized then, I think this girl thinks that I have been flirting with her, and that was never my intention. And it's also reminded me of the time you and I went to eat at the Mexican restaurant in the biggest city near us, and there was actually a guy wearing like a birthday sash that worked there. Do you remember this?
Mm-mm.
And we were walking out, and I was just trying to be nice, and I was like, "Happy birthday!" And like he apparently checked me out, and you didn't like that. You're like, "He's got a girlfriend." Do you
Oh
remember
yeah.
this?
Yeah.
There, but that to say, that's kind of just building off of what Buck was saying. I, and so it would happen. That kind of stuff would happen, and it happens even within the people that we would get closer to. But there are times that I had crushes on girls, and they didn't always reciprocate those as well. And I would be their friend.
Or they did
Um,
and then rescinded. Like you kind of
yeah,
had some of those situations too.
yeah. There was one in particular, and I don't know why I had a crush on her, but I did have a crush on this one particular girl in middle school, and but once I kind of realized that that wasn't necessarily going to go anywhere. I kind of was able to move past it, and we
Is that
stayed
was that
friends.
the girl you brought to my house at one time?
I don't remember who I
Blonde
brought
headed
to your
girl?
house. No.
Okay. That might have been high school.
Uh,
You were in Babes in Toyland with her.
that old girl I kind of dated, but we weren't an official
Yeah.
thing. No, no, no. She was interested in me as well, but that's a messy story for another time.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, do I think guys and girls can be friends? Single is its own thing. And you definitely can, but just know that more than likely, I'm not
Yeah.
going to say every time, more than likely, most times there's one who does have feelings for the other.
And that's
Doesn't
why I bring it up because like it's not I don't think you run into any ethical problems at this point. I think the only real issue you run into is somebody could eventually get hurt just because
Yes, exactly.
somebody's feelings are probably going to be romantic more than
Right.
likely. I think I'm going to be bold in my guesstimation and say that it's probably like 90
Nine
ninety five
times, yeah, I was
percent
gonna say nine times out of
95% of the
10.
time. And it's just not a very common thing at all. And I think there probably be a lot of people who would hear us say that, be like, "No, I've never had that. I've never had feelings for my girl best friend or my guy best friend or whatever." And I'm like, "Well, you probably didn't, but the other
Right.
person might have,
They might have, yeah.
or they did and try to fight it because they know that hey, this isn't a good thing."
It'll ruin a friendship.
Yeah, and like I mean, like I said, there was another girl that we worked with at Hollister, and I definitely had a crush on her, but I never even came close to trying to pursue that because I valued my friendship with her way too much to
Yeah.
even try. Um, and I don't think she would have reciprocated it because I think she was in a weird place also. But like,
In a weird relationship.
well, she had just gotten out of a
Just out
she had just
gotten
gotten
out of,
out of a
but
weird relationship, but she was also trying to like rebound a lot with these other guys that just weren't really. She
and
was like hanging out with
with
these
the
guys, and she was like, "But I don't like him." And I was like, what's going on?" Like, what are
but
you
the
telling?
relationship that she had gotten out of was very toxic
It
anyway.
was not good. Yeah.
So yeah.
And but so that kind of leads us into marriage and dating.
Yeah.
Um, So sure, there are plenty of times whenever people have been friends with somebody their entire lives. Like you've got a family friend that your parents close to their parents or whatever, and you've been friends with them your entire life, and you used to hang out with them all the time, or you like they were a staple friend in your school or whatever. But you are now married or you're now in a relationship with somebody, and I'm sorry, but my take on this is, hey, I don't think you have to stop being friends with anybody. However, there is a level of
Decency.
caution
Oh, yeah.
and respect for your
For
current
your person.
relationship
Yeah.
that you must like follow. Like that's I
Because you
guess
play with fire, it's a dangerous
yeah.
line.
Because here's the
Yeah.
thing. Here's the thing. Even if you've never at any point in your life considered having a relationship with that person, there's always the possibility that it could arise, especially if you like think they're a good looking person, but you've never really even considered yourself like really considered how attractive they were, but you acknowledge, hey, yeah, they're a good looking person. I think they're a good
Yeah.
looking person. And clearly you're attracted to their personality in some way because you're friends with them and you're really close to that person. So those two things right there um, are formulas for like romantic feelings to come up in some way. And there are so many stories, real life stories, where people are like, oh, I've been friends with this person all my life. Never even considered it. 20 years of friendship. And then they freaking end up married some time down the road. And
Yeah.
we're supposed to expect to think, oh, guy best friends or
That
girl
won't
best
happen. Yeah.
friends, like that's just not a thing.
Yeah.
So there's just a there is a what is the word I'm looking for? It's not caution. It's red tape. Like hanging out with them by yourself,
Yeah.
probably not a great idea. Or
Yep.
if you are hanging out with them by yourself, your spouse or your significant other or whatever, they need to know it. Um, Even if they trust you, they need to know it.
Yeah. I can give you an
Um,
example of this. There was a girl that I was friends with, and Jill. As a matter of fact, Jill and I had her and her husband over to our house several times. It was at the same place that I met Shelly at, and because there was a few of us that kind of hung in like a little group, and she was part of that, and I can't remember what happened. But she needed to be um, taken home from work. And I felt a little awkward about having her in her car by myself. However, I did I did say I would take her home. I offered to take her home, but I let them know I was going to call my wife and have her on the phone the entire time that I had her in my car, so that just to be above board, and so
yeah,
that the question was never in Jill's mind, and the question was never could never be in anybody else's mind.
yeah,
Um, and so, in those situations, you got to be careful.
yeah.
Um, so,
So
and
I
go
have a
ahead.
similar story to that too. So, I think I've said this on here. I do filmmaking for a living. Not as glamorous as making Hollywood movies or TV shows or whatever, but I make my living in video production and that kind of stuff. And there was a time I was doing a lot of weddings, and I was doing subcontracting work for this wedding company from out of Utah. And what they would do, they would hire subcontractors in the area. They would hire videographers and they would hire photographers to do these weddings. And they tried to pair videographers and photographers together to kind of like regularly, if they could, to to just have a good working relationship
Yeah, I
and
was gonna say to kind of cultivate
yeah. And
a almost like a partnership in a
and
way.
I did weddings with this one girl all the time, and usually she brought her husband with her. And one of the reasons I didn't know this until this particular wedding, but she did not have really great eyesight in the dark. So she
Mm,
didn't like to drive in the dark. Like she could take pictures great, but like that's different than driving at night or whatever. So at one point in this wedding, her husband called her. Was like, I think he said he like had a flat tire or something like that. He could not get out there to pick her up.
mm,
So she didn't even ask me, but I called Doe and I said, "Hey, we're at this wedding at this town, and her she's kind of stranded. She can't drive. She's got no car out here. Are you okay?" I asked my wife, "Are you okay if I take her to this gas station in this town that my wife was familiar with and meet her and her mom so she can take her home the rest of the way?" And my wife was like, "Yeah, that's totally fine." And I let her know. I was like, "I just don't want you to be uncomfortable." And I let this photographer that I've been working with know, "Hey, I'm just really cautious about being alone with another woman." Because I at that point had seen infidelity happen. Like
yeah.
I was working at a church and I had seen infidelity happen in that church.
Mm,
And I'm not saying just within the people of the church. It happened in the church.
yeah.
And like um just because those two people were alone in the church building. And I was like, I'm never ever putting myself in that position to where I can't be above board or accused of anything that I didn't do or whatever. So I talked to Doe a little bit on the way there, let her know where we were at, and then as soon as I dropped her off, I called Doe and I said, "Hey, I just dropped her off. I'm on my way back home." And if Doe had asked me to stay on the phone with me the whole time, I absolutely would have.
Yeah.
Um, and now, do I think that that is a must? That like for every scenario? No, not necessarily. But if that's what your wife or your husband is comfortable with, it is not an insecurity.
Yeah.
And
And it is a protection for you as well.
yes.
I mean, if
And,
the, you know,
well, here's the thing. Here's the thing about it. I think people like to say, "Oh, I would never do that. I could
yeah.
never do that." They are incapable of doing that. But the problem is, everybody is capable of
I was gonna say
cheating.
no one's incapable of anything.
Absolutely. And the reason everybody's capable of cheating is because anybody can be tempted with something like that. If you are attracted to somebody and you're put in a situation to where they come on to you, you're gonna be tempted in
Hmm.
some way. You may fight that temptation really, really well and not and just be like, "Oh," and then, "No, I love my spouse." Or you may really consider it, or you could give in. Um, More than likely, most people, if they really love their spouses, probably would fight it quite a lot if it on that first time. But especially if you are getting opportunities to be put in this temptation over and over and over again, and you're going to get worn down.
Hmm.
And the best thing you can do is to remove yourself away from that situation. So I'm not
I
saying
think this has
that's
been brought up before, but I think it's been brought up here on here before. I know that we've talked about it at least. Um, Billy Graham, a giant in the faith, right?
Mhm.
While he never had any affairs, Jimmy Swaggart did. But when questioned about it, he said, if it happened to Jimmy Swaggart, it can happen to me. This is a
Yeah,
holy man of God who won thousands of souls for Christ. He's already injured. We won't finish him. Let's heal and lift up our soldier.
yeah,
And, for him to be able to say, if it can happen to him, it can happen to me. It can happen to anybody. And
yeah,
this was Billy Graham, you know?
right.
let's not be too arrogant and think that we're above something.
Right. And
Uh,
again, we're not saying that having a friendship with somebody is going to guarantee that this kind of situation arises, but it does increase the chance of it happening.
yeah,
Um, so if you're going to be in a relationship with somebody of the opposite sex, you're going to have to acknowledge, and you could just totally disagree, but I feel like the evidence points to otherwise. You're going to have to acknowledge that I can't have the same level of friendship that I had with them prior to being married or being in this relationship. Um, even I say that even if your girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife says it's totally fine, simply because there are too many times whenever in those kinds of relationships somebody does have feelings for the other. And all right, you know what? Let's also let's kind of frame it this way too. A lot of those friendships stemmed from they originated in a romantic relationship.
yeah,
A lot of friendships like that kind of happen that way.
yeah.
And I mean, I had a relationship like that in high school.
Well, you know, recently, she's been mentioned even on the podcast a few times. We had a friend named Pemberley who
Mm-hmm.
um, got really close with our family really quickly, or tried to. While Jill and I always tried to keep a distance, it became pretty evident that she had feelings for me, and yet she knew I was married. She knew my family.
She didn't act on
Um,
them
she didn't act on them.
that we knew of, or that
Right.
we acknowledged.
Well, she didn't. Yeah. Um, and apparently it was evident to some of the people at the church we attend too, because later, after she parted ways with us, um, people said as much. More
Right.
than one person had said as much. However, during the time that she was trying to hang with our family, she tried to come to our house when she knew that Jill was not home more than once.
Oh, I don't think I knew that.
And one time she was like, "Oh, hey, I'm coming by." Now the kids were there, and
That does
there
not
was
matter.
there was a little safety in knowing, especially with my oldest.
Sure. I mean,
But but I did call Jill, and I was like, "I need you to get home now," because she said she's coming over here. And we laid down. We had to, and we pretty much told her, it was like, "When I am home by myself, you cannot be here. You cannot come into this environment when it's just me, because this is how it can be perceived, or anything."
mhm.
And
All she has to say is that you tried something.
right.
Right.
And Beverly, I remember Beverly, she was like, I had never thought of that. And I am so glad that y'all think of that, because it protects y'all in your marriage. And so Beverly, and I do not really do that.
Right.
Now, there's been different occasions where she's had to be at our house when Jill wasn't, but we're always very cautious about that as well. And Beverly is more like family. But now we will, when we do, if that's the case, we do have the older kids, because she has an older child. And then now out with my foster children, all of them are teenagers now, and we make sure that they're present and all of that.
Right.
But which is, and I don't know how to explain it on here, but it's very different from the other situation with Pemberley. But even still, we try to be very careful of that situation and guard that. And Beverly knows that. Beverly
Right.
knows that if Jill's not here, she and I don't just hang out.
Right.
That's not a thing.
Yeah.
So it is something that you just have to be very vigilant about. and careful of.
Well, and here's the thing too, like, so there's a lot of opposite sex friendships that kind of happen within like workplaces, right?
Mm,
So much so that, I mean, I know we kind of are starting to look at this as a negative thing as society, but you kind of have that whole like work wife, work husband
hmm.
mentality. You become super close with somebody at work, and then the whole stigma of like, oh, work wife, work husband, kind of ended up happening. And usually with those little stereotypes, somebody generally ends up being super romantically interested in the other person. But here's the thing that I want to kind of elaborate on that. So a lot of times, the workplace ends up being a lot of times where affairs begin. Like it is one of the like prime
It
places that
is.
affairs begin. And from what I have learned about it, this is the way that it starts. You end up befriending somebody and you have no feelings for that person whatsoever whenever you befriend this person. You just kind of connect and you like goof off and you're Pam and Jim from The Office at the very
Mm.
beginning of The Office. But Jim had feelings for Pam the whole time. And so like but you start to confide in that person, and then like if you've got maybe you got a few like little gripes about your marriage and you're eating lunch with this person, like even if you're eating lunch in the workplace, like you're eating it in the break room or whatever, you start eating lunch with this person, you kind of start confiding in them with like issues that you got in your marriage. And what ends up happening is over time you guys both end up sharing your gripes within your marriage if you're both married. And then you end up finding that, oh, this person is fulfilling this need that I don't feel like I'm getting fulfilled by my spouse. And I found this out. This was a huge thing. That need being fulfilled, and and most of the time it's not really that a need is getting fulfilled, you just think it is because they are acknowledging that your need is not being fulfilled at home. So it's kind of like this pseudo feat like fulfillment, but and that ends up sparking romantic feelings. And a lot of
Hmm.
times in those affairs that pop up, the person that you end up having the affair with isn't more attractive than your spouse physically,
Right.
like, because it's not about physical attraction at that point. So it could be like, I mean, like, I wouldn't say that Jack is overweight by any means, but Jack could have started talking with somebody whenever he was working in retail, and it could have been, I mean, while he was like 190 pounds, talking to a girl that's 300 pounds, and just because that girl was fulfilling that emotional need in his mind, that was enough to tempt him to start to have romantic feelings for that person that could lead to a physical affair. And
That didn't happen.
that did not happen. That was totally hypothetical. Um, I don't even think there was a person like that, was there?
Uh, not really.
Not
No.
really. But and there were multiple places in retail. I just said retail because I knew you worked in retail
Yeah.
for a little bit while you were married. But like so those kinds of things can happen. But at the same time, a lot of, like I was saying earlier, a lot of friendships, like opposite sex friendships, they originated as romantic relationships.
Yeah.
Like you dated in high school, you dated in college, but you've been only friends for the majority of your relationship. So I'm going to read a story. I've been getting like really into these like Reddit story tropes, like you see like okay story time or some other like Smosh reads Reddit. I've
Yeah.
been watching them on TikTok quite a lot. A lot of times they're "Am I the a-hole" stories, but this
Hmm.
one isn't. Well, it might kind of be an "Am I the a-hole" story. But let me just read it. So this is from the relationships subreddit, and it goes like this. I, 33 female, have slept with both of my best friends, and my boyfriend, 36 male, of 4 years, is uncomfortable with that.
Hmm.
I'll be breaking this into sections just to keep it all in chronological order. You can scroll down to part 3 for the actual issue with my boyfriend, and I'll have a TLDR at the bottom because, man, this is going to be long. It's not really that long. Let me start off with the problem. My two best friends in the world are male, and I have slept with both of them. It's not as bad as it seems, though. It's not like I have feelings for either one of them. They're both childhood friends whom I've known for years and years, so I love them both with all of my heart. But the thought of being in a relationship with either of them is unfathomable. One of them, we'll call him Rob, is married now. But we had a brief relationship in senior year of high school. We broke up after less than a year for several reasons. I wanted to travel abroad for university. He wanted kids and I didn't. His mother didn't think it was a good fit for him, but we still remained friends. The other, we'll call him John, is a bit more complicated. I would never date him because he has serious issues. We're talking like mental issues. And it's not so much the issues that stop me from dating him, but the fact that he adamantly refuses any kind of help or therapy for them. He had some major childhood trauma that he's big time repressing, and it's affecting his ability to have a relationship. This doesn't sound like it's going really well at this point already, right?
Not at all. She sounds
He's
like
a bit of a womanizer. Oh, it gets worse. He's a bit of a womanizer. And after I got back from university abroad, I was 23 and all alone, and I needed a place to live. His parents had moved out to a condo on the beach, and they let John live in their old house. He offered me one of the spare bedrooms for a very low rent. So we lived together for a while without incident. The big thing to pay attention to right there is without incident.
without incident. Mhm.
I dated a guy for like 2 years, and John had a constant stream of women in and out of his bedroom. But we discovered a system that worked for us, and we became closer than ever. The problem was, one night, about a year after I broke up with my ex, we hung out in the house alone and got drunk together.
Drunk.
We both
I
ended up
knew it.
getting
I
super.
knew they were getting drunk.
We both ended up getting super horny and hooked up. We had
Oh, Lord.
amazing sex.
Isn't alcohol like a?
Am I supposed to? Am I
suppressant?
supposed to edit myself and say spicy sleep or something like that? Because that's what they
No,
all
I
do. But
don't.
I'm not going to do that.
I don't know.
Like really mind blowing. Keep in mind, while she's writing this, she has a boyfriend, so she's saying like really mind blowing. I don't know if it was because I was drunk or
What? No, that was wrong.
because I'd only slept with two other people in my life up to that point. But Rob and I were virgins when we had sex for the first time. And one of the main reasons I split up with my other ex was sexual incompatibility. But either way, it was great and we didn't want to stop. So we kept hooking up for about 8 months. At that point, right. At that point, one of his exes came back into his life and he realized he had feelings for her. We stopped hooking up, but quite frankly, we had no self-control. I realized, I realized when I was about 29 and had a steady job that there was no reason I shouldn't move out. So I left. We had one last night of sex while this guy was dating his girlfriend before I moved out and agreed to never talk about it again. Not agreed to never talk again. Agreed to never talk about it again. I'm not going to read this next part because it's just talking about how she met her boyfriend. But about half a year ago, me and my boyfriend decided to move in together. His lease was ending and I owned my house, so he moved into my place. He sometimes works really late nights, and on occasion I'll have Rob or John over to keep me company when he does. That already sounds like a red flag to me. It does not to you. But they're her very best friends in the entire world, and she loves them.
She has loved them.
Last night, he was meant to be working up until 11 p.m. John was here. John was the one that had the trauma issues, and we were hanging out in the living room. It was about 10:30, and we were drinking a bit. There's that again, and talking kind of loudly. John mentioned to me that his girlfriend was always jealous/worried when he and I had feelings for each other. I said that was silly, and just because two people have, present tense, just because two people have great sex doesn't mean they're in love. As I said, we were talking pretty loudly. And so I guess Sam, that's her boyfriend, Sam, came in at some point and heard me say that. I didn't even hear him unlock the door, but he stormed into the living room and confronted me, asking when John and I had had sex because he did not know that they had ever. Right.
Mm.
He looked equal parts disappointed and equal parts angry. John left because he didn't want to get involved in an argument. I explained everything. Told him John and I used to hook up when we lived together, and that was part of the reason I moved out of his place because it wasn't healthy for us to have that kind of relationship. It had been 4 years and we rarely ever spoke about it, and it hasn't affected our hasn't affected our friendship at all. So keep in mind, 4 years, right? Sam now tells me that he's uncomfortable with the fact that I've slept with both of the people I consider to be my best friends. He's also uncomfortable with the fact that just a few days before Sam, my boyfriend, and I got together, John and I slept together for the last time. He says it taints our entire relationship because I lied to him about it. You're right, yeah. He thinks he's being a bit, I think he's being a bit puritanical. Of course, I have a sexual past, and why does it matter if it was only a few days before since it didn't mean anything? You know what cheaters say?
It didn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like I had feelings for John, but he was feeling you with his and we always used protection and frequently got tested. That makes it so much better. And I told Sam that. So it's not like he's concerned about the health risks. He's just jealous. And he wants me to hang out with John less, and he doesn't feel comfortable with us drinking together at all. No crap.
Obviously.
He also insists I should make new friends and separate myself a bit from Rob and John because it's weird that both of the people I'm closest to are people whom have seen me naked. I think let's add something there because girls,
why not find friends
some girls,
that are girls,
yeah, have seen me naked and touched me while naked. How about that? And been inside me while I was naked. That's even a more important thing to include there. I think he's being entirely unreasonable. John and I are both in relationships and we have no feelings for each other whatsoever. The fact that we hooked up with each other for a while is something we want to leave in the past. And to bring Rob into it is just ridiculous. It's been 15 years since we had anything to do with each other romantically, and he's now married with kids. I think Sam just wants to punish me or something because he's weirdly jealous. I honestly don't know what to make of this situation. And the funny thing about this, there's updates and stuff, but I don't think there's really much more to talk about because I'm pretty sure that her and her boyfriend ended up breaking up.
Well, as they should have.
Right.
If she cannot realize the problem, that is a problem.
She didn't tell him for 4 years, Jack.
Yeah.
She hooked up with that guy days before they got together. Oh, by the way, they all work in the same office. I meant to tell you that.
Oh, wait. The husband does too?
Yes, all 4 of them work in the same place.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that awkward? Okay. I know that is I used to be romantically or sexually involved with this person that's my close friend, and they're friends now, and that's not in years later that's where the issues kind of coming into play. But I cannot tell you how many times I've listened to, "Am I the a-hole for getting upset at my wife for staying at her male best friend's house for the weekend or planning a trip without me with her male best friend." And then you come to find out they actually were sleeping together, or they had never done it, but they did it on that trip or something like that. And not just girls, like obviously this thing applies to guys too. I chose that one because I thought it was the most entertaining to read, but
alcohol
one of the other
is
ones,
a lot of the times involved as well.
Yeah. And I'll say that is true. However, I also think sometimes it gets thrown in there as an excuse.
Yeah. No.
And
I mean,
even if it wasn't there, like, oh, we had a couple drinks, but we weren't really drunk. Like,
right.
You know what I'm saying? And
I think a lot of times the feelings are there. even if they don't want to admit it, they use the alcohol as an excuse to act on those things.
Yeah. Um, and I'm gonna tell you the truth. It always means something.
Yeah.
There is sex
At least somebody.
sex has never happened and meant nothing to one of the people involved. Like
Yep.
absolutely not. It is. I
And
really believe it is an impossibility.
I will also say that I believe most of the time that it is the girls who a lot of that feel when sex is involved, no matter what the situation, girls are a little more hardwired to have feelings
Yeah,
than guys are, which is why I think boys are known to be scumbags, because
sure.
they will just sleep around, and it does a lot of times wreck girls' emotions,
Yeah.
and
I'm not trying to man shame, but it is something that does happen.
I mean, it's just a truth. It's just a
Yeah.
truth, and I think that also is the reason why there is this kind of double standard that when girls are the ones who act that way, that girls get labeled as a hoe or something like
Mhm.
that. And the boys get the whole well, boys will be boys, and while it's bad either way,
Yeah.
but I think that's why.
And I think it's a total injustice that girls get that, and I think that it's only fair that we also shame the boys that are that way.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
I do think it has to do with the fact that boys are able to do that and not get as emotionally attached.
yeah. I mean, I think
It's not always the case,
it's a
but
pretty detestable thing to be like, oh yeah, I've got these notches on my belt without any care at all
hmm
for the damage you've done to somebody's feelings. And I think
absolutely,
like
absolutely,
and I think we're in this place where now a lot of women are trying to fight for the right to do just that exact same thing. And I'm
yeah,
like, no, we're going the wrong direction. We should have
yeah.
backed it up and applied the sleeping around with as many people as possible is a bad thing to men also.
It's
And I
because
think
they want to. They just want to be. They want to be able to sleep
it's
with
an
whoever
excuse. Yeah, it's
and
an
not
excuse to
have.
act the
Yeah.
same way. And but I think that one of the ways that would have been the best to do that is to like you just being a severe there's a bit of a sociopathic aspect to not caring about like just destroying somebody's feelings in
Yeah.
that way. And
That girl there is a red. That in the story is a walking red flag because she
oh,
can't see
absolutely.
the issue. All the issue was on the boy, on her boyfriend,
And I'll tell you the
because
truth.
he's just jealous. No, you're literally still hanging out with people that you continue that you slept with for 8 months. You
Yeah.
were basically in a relationship with that person.
And every time I see stories like this, there's always you're just being insecure. You're just being insecure. You're just being insecure. It doesn't matter like if it's a girl or a guy.
Yep.
They're saying, "Oh, you're just jealous. You're insecure." And I don't. I think I have yet to see a story out of dozens and dozens and dozens of stories that something didn't end up happening. Where like the person who was actually writing the story, like the OP who was writing the story, wasn't actually correct. And Jack, you listen to those like Brook and Jubal,
Yeah.
like this kind of stuff happens on those too. And I think
Mhm.
there are some of those that are not real. And
Yeah.
and maybe some of these Reddit stories aren't real too, but there's a lot of them that are real. And like
hmm
and people are genuinely trying to find advice because if I don't know, some of them is so bad. Like you're enabling this so bad. I don't see how you could possibly like be
So,
faking
what are
this.
the comments on that story?
What are they?
Yeah.
You want to hear some? Okay.
Absolutely. That's the best part.
All right, all right, 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 right.
While
So
you're looking that
hang
up,
on.
a lot of this reminds me of, since you were talking about work wives and work husbands and stuff, it reminds me of the King of Queens episode. I don't know if you remember this, where Carrie has like a work husband
Mhm.
and Doug gets super jealous, but then I think he's like, the guy's like like gay or something.
Oh,
But it just made me think of that.
I still would draw that line even with a gay person.
No, yeah, I
Um,
mean, but that's the whole premise of
yeah,
that.
but doesn't she end up cheating on him later on in the show and he leaves her?
No, that's his best friend and her and his wife.
Oh, okay.
Deacon and Deacon's wife cheated on him.
I gotcha. All right. Here's the first comment. You're effing out of control, OP. Your boyfriend should kick you to the curb. First comment. All right. All right. Next comment. So you
Agreed.
cheated with John when he had started getting back with his girlfriend because you had no control and the sex was awesome. But now the boyfriend is supposed to believe you'll control yourself while in a relationship with him. I would have dumped you immediately upon this revelation. Sorry. Um,
Yep.
and I think somebody right here said, I think he's being entirely unreasonable. And then people said, he's not. He's really not. Um, he sometimes works really late nights, and on occasion, this is the OP, I'll have Rob and John over to keep me company when he does. And the person responded, nope, I stopped reading right there. I wouldn't be okay with this either. I wouldn't
Yeah.
either. I
No.
wouldn't either at all. Okay, here's one.
He works
OM,
nights. He works nights, so you have to have someone to keep you company.
Yeah,
Go to
he
bed.
he works nights, so you have to have two men or one man keep you company. I do not believe for a second that that girl had not ever slept with that guy while she was dating.
I don't believe so either.
I don't believe it. OMG, if I ever write a screenplay, this scene is so totally going to be in it. Either a rom-com or a slasher flick. I haven't decided.
Slasher?
So Sam has heard something in context that seems to put his relationship in completely different light. His reaction may not be rational, but right now he probably isn't sure where he stands in this relationship. So it's understandable. Just stay calm, stay on message, and eventually he'll calm down and take a rational view on the circumstances. Speaking of rational, however, I said that was silly, and just because two people have great sex doesn't mean they're in love. You obviously either still find him attractive or your nostalgia for the sex you guys had. Either way, spending extended one-on-one time with him while consuming disinhibiting intoxicants, I guess that means that's a really long way for saying alcohol, is definitely playing with fire because when they first did it, they were drinking,
We're
and
drunk.
whenever they said it and he found out, they were drinking. This is how
Hmm.
you guys ended up in bed together in the first place, remember? So the rational thing to do is probably to avoid drinking alone with John going forward. As such, that probably is an assurance you can make to Sam. Uh, anyway, so yeah, that's kind of what they all
Yeah.
are like.
Yeah.
So,
You're the
I just
a-hole
yeah,
poster.
she's definitely the a-hole, and I I'll hear these things like I'll watch like OK Storytime or Smosh Reads Reddit or whatever, and they'll read these stories and they'll be like, yeah, you're like that person's a hole, the one that's like, say like has the
The
relationship
problem.
with the other person, but then they'll immediately be like, but it's okay, like your significant other should be totally okay with your relationship with your guy or girl best friend or whatever, and it's just kind of like you guys,
It's
you
because
want
they're
your
trying to.
cake and eat it too,
They do,
like.
and it's a lot of that. I think is because they don't want to offend anyone.
Right. And I love watching these guys. They're super
I do too.
entertaining. And like I mean obviously probably have very different worldviews than us, but for the most part I really enjoy their content. But it's okay. It is okay to say, hey, no, guards need to be put up in opposite sex relationships, when like friendships, whenever you're married or you have a girlfriend or whatever. that doesn't make you bad. It just means, hey, I don't want to screw up. So the nature of our friendship, just simply because there is always the possibility, even if we don't want it to, or even if we don't think it could ever happen, this could turn romantic in some way, and I'm not going to risk that. So from now on, when I hang out with you, you'll probably be hanging out with my girlfriend with me or somebody else as well. And we're probably not going to be having one-on-one text conversations like we used to. We may a little bit,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to be texting you all throughout the night. Um, and the same thing, like, and I know this isn't the topic, but those same people will be like, whenever you hear Reddit stories about like open relationships, something like that, they're like, it's never okay when somebody is not okay with it. If that's what you guys want, and I'm just like, guys, it's freaking okay to say it is toxic to believe that you should open up your relationship because it freaking is. Like, and that's another rabbit hole. Maybe we'll get into that, but like these people try to do their best to avoid offending. And sometimes, and I say this as somebody who tries to avoid offending as much as I possibly can, Jack, you know,
Yeah.
but sometimes you just got to not care
Yeah.
if you offend somebody. And
Like me. One of the ones that I like to watch a lot of who does these is Dusty Thunder, and he calls them Am I the Astronaut? And I
that's
love that.
funny.
It makes me laugh. But I love getting into the comments and reading what people say to them.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, there now I did, I can't remember exactly where this was, but I did, um, listen to a story. It was an OK Storytime story about a guy who he had a childhood friend. He had been friends with her his entire life, and there was a point wherever he did have feelings for her, but he
Hmm.
apparently got over them. But he kind of kept this friend at a distance. Like he did everything correct, but he ended up getting married, and his uh his wife had a bit of a problem with her, so he kind of put restrictions on their relationship. But his wife didn't like the relationship at all, and I think there can be a problem there if you're
Yeah.
doing everything, and at some point, I do think the way he responded is extreme. But his friend, his female friend, was getting married, and his wife's family, I guess she had forgotten that his friend was getting married, so his wife's family booked a trip to like I think New York or something like that, and she was like, "We're going on this trip," and he said, "I can't go on this trip. My friend is getting married," and she said, "You're just going to have to miss the wedding." And he's like, "No, we could go to New York anytime. My friend's going to get married once." And she was like, "No, you're going to have to come. You're disrespecting my family." So this is what I think was wrong. He left her.
Mm.
But I also think she was wrong for being like, "No, you got to come with my family to New York." Um, Simply because we were inconsiderate of plans that you already had.
Yeah.
Um, I again like it causes complications like that for one but you have to be like extremely careful with the way that you navigate things, and I think that it requires a lot of communication with your spouse and your friend to be like, look, if we want this to work, if we want to stay as close as we are, we're gonna have to figure out ways to do this. And I think the only real way to make it work is hope that your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whatever will be able to be friends with that person and
Yeah.
get close to them. Um, but yeah, it's just it is just
Yeah.
murky water. I mean, like I said, I'm friends with Jill,
Yeah.
but I can probably count on maybe two hands how many times I have hung out with Jill alone, and none of those times ever happened without your knowledge.
Yeah.
And and almost all of those times weren't just like, hey, let's hang out. It's like
Yeah.
we were having to do something, like we are having to work or
Usually it
something
was,
like that.
yeah, usually it involved music
Yeah.
and getting ready. And even those times, I knew that y'all weren't really alone. Like usually you had
Yes.
other musicians and things like that around.
Yep.
By alone, you just mainly mean I wasn't there.
Right. I mean,
But
there have been a
I,
couple times whenever we like had to, I think we had to meet about something. So we got lunch or something like that
yeah.
in a very public place. But I am not, even with Jill, I'm not
But usually
that
she invites
comfortable.
me.
Yeah.
Usually she invites
Yeah.
me to come, but there's just been a couple of times when I couldn't get out
Yeah.
of things.
I'm just not. And I guess that she probably is. I would imagine she's exactly the same way. I'm just not comfortable with it.
Yeah,
I'm
she's
just,
not.
I remember one time when I was working for the church that I used to work for, we had a shoot and I had to drive, and one of the people that was in the shoot was a girl, and for some reason I was the only person that could drive her. So I made her sit in the back of my car.
I think I remember this.
Because it's like I don't want anybody to see us, and that may have been a little bit extreme, but I was also working at a church, so it was a little bit like they could be a little bit weird about those kinds of things. But
So early on, I don't even know if Jill and I were married at this point. We may have just been getting close to our marriage. Um, there is a girl that I like to tease Buck about because I joke that he dated his cousin. She's
oh,
not
gross.
she's not actually a cousin, but kind of raised like one
Yeah,
in that her mother married his uncle, and they were together for a while. But even after they split, she continued to be closer to
stay
him
like he
than
was
she
his guard.
was
He was
even.
her legal guardian.
Yeah, she stayed with him, and he became more of her father than her mother was. Her birth mother was her mother, and so in a lot of ways, like anyway, she worked with me. We had a job together, and one day she, we had our break at the same time, and she was like, "Do you want to go eat lunch together?" And I was like, sure. And so we went and had lunch together.
At a food
And
court in the mall.
yeah, and
Need to clarify that.
yeah, and like it wasn't Jill did not like that.
Yeah.
She did not like that at all. And I was like, Jill, she's a cousin. And she was like, no, she's not. And I was like, I mean, I see why you say that, but I thought of her as nothing more as like a distant cousin.
Yeah.
To the point when I did go eat with my actual cousin, Jill didn't actually care because she was my cousin. Um, but I felt like I
Sometimes
had
that's a
to,
problem. You never know.
yeah, but I think you know the cousin I'm talking about. Um, and so I was having, and this other time I felt like I was with my cousin. I felt like I had to tell everybody, this is my cousin.
That's funny. Um,
Oh,
yeah, that I mean, we would go eat with people like when we worked at Hollister, we would go eat with other people in the store. And I didn't really ever think anything about that because it almost felt like the food court in the mall was totally different. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
But I didn't really have many relationships while I worked at Hollister. So I probably never really had to think about that.
I don't remember eating alone with any of the girls. Maybe one time, and the only time I say that is because that person came back later and said she remembers having a conversation with me at lunch while we both worked there. But the conversation was about Jill and how much I just thought she was, how I was like enamored with her. It was when I don't know if we were even dating, if we had just first met or
Yeah.
what. So it might not have even counted in that. But um, because usually I ate with you or I would just go eat by myself.
Yeah. Well,
So
I mean, I worked there a good bit longer than you.
you
So
did.
like I ended up, I mean, I ate lunch or took my break with um girls that I work with all the time, but I was
Yeah.
single. So like, I mean, I guess I was dating Doe whenever I worked there first, like when we first started dating, I was
Yeah.
working
Toward
there,
the, it
but
was toward the end of your time
yeah,
there.
probably like,
Mhm.
I mean, somewhere between like 6 to 8 months. I was probably there while we were dating, but so like, I mean, I'm pretty sure that there were still some people that I went out to lunch with, but I've matured a lot since then
Yeah.
also, and I've seen things that can happen
Yeah.
also. So like I would never put myself in that situation now, even though like we're talking like a 30-minute lunch break that you're not really having much time to get to know each other during that time period, versus like a full-time job, which usually gives you about an hour lunch or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
and also, you never could tell if you're going to be working with the same person every day or not. There, um, most of the most of getting to know each other in that job was when we were closing and folding clothes and
Hmm.
um, that kind of stuff. So
Yep.
like, yeah, but hey, if
Mhm.
Jill was like, I ain't comfortable with it, then you freaking honor that. Like that's a
Yeah.
big deal. Or you decide like, hey,
Well, I never ate with that girl again.
I don't blame you
And
because she's crazy.
she is crazy. I didn't know that at the time, but I, I wasn't attracted to her or anything. It was just, I literally thought of her as just as a cousin, but like like a more distant, because I wasn't real close to her. But I think she had asked a time, maybe once or twice after that. She didn't stay there long.
And I
At
feel like I also need to clarify about kind of having some kind of something with my
her
cousin,
young.
um, who was not my cousin. She was technically my step cousin, but she came into my life when I was like 8 or something like that. And for some reason, I developed a bit of a crush on her because I didn't view her as my cousin. Because for one, when she first came into my life, her mom and my uncle were not married at all,
Mm.
and I like in middle school just kind of developed a bit of a crush on her, and we tried to explore that. And I realized real quickly I ain't into this.
Yeah.
It's
And she was cute. She was cute
she
back
was
then.
cuter then.
Yeah.
Like
Not now.
no, she kind of looks like, can I
She
speak with your manager?
she
Um,
looks like with mixed with Beth Moore, but
yeah,
she has this she looks a lot older than she actually
and she
is.
married a lot older than she
She
actually
did.
is.
She did. She did.
A lot.
Um and she does post
Also
a lot of
broke. Nope.
crazy.
Nope.
She posts a lot of crazy on Facebook.
She
Um
does.
I stand by the thought that nobody like before Facebook, people didn't know how crazy people were,
Yeah.
and now everybody can post it.
I'm like, hey guys, let's go back to having secrets.
Yeah, please do.
Like we don't need all this. We don't need.
Keep that ish to yourself.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah, but uh, I think the consensus here is that you can have a friend of the opposite sex, but it's not somebody you need to be talking to a lot or hanging out with. Now, and there is nuance in that. Um, you know, Shelly and I will talk on Marco Polo,
Hmm.
um, and even some text, not a lot, but all of that is open for Jill to ever see.
Yep.
And in fact, a lot of those conversations are had right in front of Jill, so she hears everything. I walk around playing the things that Shelly are saying a lot of the time. So it's open. Um, and the same with Beverly is it's got to be open. But of course, Jill is close with Beverly as well. But and a lot of the times, Jill will be like, "Have you talked to Beverly today?" Um, because she want to know, like, is she coming over for supper? And I'll be like, Allie be like, yeah, I talked to her earlier and blah blah blah, or no, I hadn't talked to her today. Um, and in those moments, a lot of times I'll be like, why don't you text her or why don't you talk to her, so that it's not always just coming from me because I am a man.
Right.
Um, now Jill's not as close with Shelly. She's friends with her, but she's just not as close to her. But so she's not going to text her or anything. But my conversations with Shelly, while they used to be more frequent, they've fallen off a lot over the years. But all of that has always been open, and a lot of them, those conversations, had right in front of Jill, so that she knows I have nothing to hide.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, I think
And we don't hang out alone.
for one, I also think
Never
that
have.
that having a as a guy having a female best friend or as a girl having a male best friend, those are not the norm. Like, I mean, it
Yeah.
happens. It's not the norm. So probably the majority of people who would hear this would not have that. They would not
Right.
have a female best friend or a male best friend. But I say this, if you're somebody that is like, no, I should be able to have a female best friend and my spouse or my girlfriend or whatever, um, should should be okay with that. I'm gonna say you are only going to do something that is going to make it hard on you and your relationship, and it will be your fault. And
Yeah.
it will be or at least you will have a fault in it. I mean, you could go about it really well, and your spouse or your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, um, ends up being the person that causes the issues. But I'm almost willing to bet that 9 times out of 10, those issues are not ill-founded. They generally have something behind them, and somebody is causing a problem, whether that be you having the feelings for that person, or that other person having those feelings for you and not wanting to connect with them, with your significant other. Um, it is just a dangerous thing to do, and
Play on fire.
yeah. So, like, again, we're not saying don't be friends with the opposite sex. We're just
And of
saying
course, we're talking about mainly a hetero, uh, like the heteronormative relationship here. But
sure,
there's also that same idea within those other
absolutely.
types as
Yeah.
well.
That,
You
I mean,
have
that's
to
a,
be
that's a
careful.
fair point. Like, if you're in a same-sex relationship and, like, obviously you're gonna whatever, like, you I
Yeah.
guess it would
And
be
if you're
like
bisexual, you're
you
not allowed to have friends at
yeah,
all.
correct. You can't, yeah. But if you're a
You have
same-sex
to be very
relationship,
careful.
I guess you could be in a relationship with somebody who is not same-sex attracted or whatever, but you'd have to be extremely careful with somebody who is. But that's
Yeah.
my community. Well, I'm sorry. Like, if you, I
Well,
mean,
and it's not anything really. It's not negative to say that community is known for being very promiscuous.
yeah. Well, at least the male side of it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, because men are more sexually driven in
Yeah.
general.
Because men are scumbags. Yeah.
Um, and so, but yeah, yeah, just yes, you can. There have to be boundaries, even if you don't think, even if
You can
you
be
and your
friends. But being best friends. you're getting close to crossing that line. If you are hanging out alone, you are crossing the line.
Yeah.
Don't put yourself in a situation where you could even look like you're compromising your relationship.
Right. All right. Well, I'll pack up my stuff
Thank you.
since I'm
Don't
not
forget
allowed to
that. Don't
stay.
forget that right there. You left that here last time.
Hey, I'll come back and get it.
It's your excuse to come back and see
Yeah.
me. I do love you.
Yeah. Adios.
Bye.
Down and down the rabbit hole.